This video looks at the content of Lecture 3, Environment, Organisational Culture and Diversity. It is critical for success in management concepts to get a good result that you understand the business environment. It is also critical for your success as a future manager in any organisation that you understand the environment in which you are working. Business environment model presents the internal environment, which is the organisation, managers, employees, board of directors and organisational culture. Wrapped around that and very close to the business are the stakeholders in the external specific environment. These are customers, suppliers, competitors, government regulators. Outside that, and more distant from the organisation, is the external general environment. Managers have limited or no control over what's happening in the external general environment. Managers in an organisation cannot change the exchange rates. They cannot, not even a country the size of China, can slow down the change in technology. So your job as a manager is to learn to work with what's happening in the external environment, to manage it, because you cannot control it. What is the business environment? It's the conditions in which your organisation operates. As a manager, you will have limited or no control over the external environment, and you will have even limited control over the internal environment. What does this mean for you? Business environment can present risks for your organisation, but it can also present opportunities to make more profit. Your job will be to manage your organisation's relationship with the business environment to maximise profit. How do you make money in the rain? This news story from Manila shows that you can even make money in floods. Your job as a manager is to manage the external environment, not try to control it. Okay, looking at the internal business environment. We've got the organisation itself. That includes the physical environment, the office space, the factories, the production lines. It includes the company policies, the training manuals, any documentation that's used. It includes the money available. Do you have investment capital? Is the money to manage cash flow? It includes the legal corporate structure of the organisation. Are you a public company trading on the share market? Or you're a government department? Or you're a not-for-profit organisation? The internal environment also includes the managers' employees. It's important to be aware that that includes the very top managers, the chief executive officer, chief financial officer, and those top-line executives, right down to your first-line managers, then your operating employees, and it also includes all the different functions in the organisation: marketing, finance, operations. The internal environment also includes the board of directors. A public company like Woolworths Limited has over 400,000 shareholders or owners. 12 members of the Woolworths board of directors represent the interests of those 400,000 shareholders. Organisational culture. This is a key management tool you will use for changing or influencing what's happening in the internal environment. Organisational culture includes the core culture, the core values, the beliefs about the right ways to behave. It also includes the observable, visible culture. These are typically the tools you will use for managing change. The stories, the rituals, the heroes, the symbols. Organisations are simply a group of people. They're like your family or your local community or a school. They're a group of people. So when we want to change what's happening with that group of people, we need to use things like stories, rituals, and symbols. We need to understand the core values. wrapped around that internal environment is the external specific or task environment. The organisation has close relationships with stakeholders in that environment. For example, a company like Woolworths, look at the customers. They're interacting with customers on a daily basis, and they can influence the way the customers are working with the company with things like customer loyalty cards to manage their purchase behaviour. The company's dealing with suppliers on a regular basis. They need to ensure a regular supply of quality fruit and vegetables, so they'll contract farmers to have some level of control over the way those suppliers are dealing with the company. Competitors, both Woolworths and Coles, run fuel discount programs. The government regulator, now the government regulator is a very important stakeholder for most companies. Something as simple as registration on the vehicles, the trucks that the company's using. Other things like workplace health and safety. We've got outside interest groups. Interest groups like labour unions negotiate wages and work conditions. So they're not part of the organisation, they're not employed by the organisation, they're not controlled by the organisation, but they can have a huge impact on how the organisation works. And shareholders, the actual owners of a company like Woolworths. Woolworths has over 400,000 shareholders. They want dividend income for their investment in the company. The external general environment. This is further away from the company in terms of the level of control the company has. So I've drawn it outside the external specific environment. Organisations have a distant relationship with this and almost always no control over that environment. Again, it's how you as managers manage that. Socio-cultural environment. This is particularly interesting for you as future managers. Multinational companies, the fastest growth area in the world. Effective management in those companies requires multiple languages perhaps, cross-cultural skills, cultural awareness. These are all things that you have learnt by leaving your home environment and studying in a different country. The economic environment, another area that managers can't control. Managers could not stop the global financial crisis. They just had to decide how to run their business in the environment created by that crisis. Things like exchange rates, the Australian dollar. The exchange rate between the Australian dollar and the US dollar can vary by 15%. Makes a huge difference for export-import companies. The natural environment. Organisations cannot control the weather. Governments can't reverse global warming, so organisations can't. Like everything in the external general environment, it's how do you manage it? How can you make money in the rain? Because you can't stop it raining. Technology. Technology change. Moore's law shows us that computing power doubles every 18 months. That has applied for 5 decades now, and at this stage there's no suggestion it's going to change. This is an area you will have to manage. Political, legal. Governments make the rules, the laws that you have to operate. Your organisation has to operate with. Your job, like a game of football, is to understand how to win, playing by the rules that the government's made. Business environment. It includes the internal environment, the external specific environment, and the external general environment. As a manager, you need to understand that you will have little or no control over what's happening in those environments and focus on how to make a profit for your organisation with whatever is happening in the environment you're given.